Good morning, Mr. Loomis. Can you hear us okay?
I got you loud and clear.
Excellent. We are up and running and we'll, I guess, stay muted until we start here in a few minutes. Thank you, sir.
Just to let you know, you are live on YouTube now.
Mr. Chairman, I have 9:30, so at your leisure, sir.
Okay, let's get started. Board members, do you go ahead and unmute so we can. Okay, we'll start this meeting. We'll call the meeting to order and we'll do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States of America, and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. First, I want to acknowledge that Kathy is back on the board. So we have all 5 board members, all 5 districts are covered again. Thank you, Kathy, for jumping back on there with us. The first item is the approval of our minutes from the December 19th meeting. Did everybody have a chance to look through them?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions or anything we need to discuss there?
No.
Okay, then I'd entertain a motion from someone.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Jody.
Yeah. I move that we approve the December 19th minutes from our December meeting.
Okay, a second.
Second that.
Okay, Kathy seconds that. All right, all in favor. We'll raise our hand and say aye. Aye,
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
yes,
Liz will second.
okay. All right, so we have a first, a second, we have a vote all to approve those minutes. Next thing on the agenda is just board member reports. And let's just do that by district again. Jody, district number 1.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Probably the latest news, not a lot, but I probably should report to the board that Flathead Lake, everybody's been pretty interested in the Summers Beach projects that have happened there. Summers Beach is scheduled to get a little bit more of material put down on the beach itself to kind of create a pebble beach on that area, and that is scheduled for this winter. And the latest I have is that all the permitting and paperwork is in order, and that should be completed here yet this winter. If you recall, and I think Kathy may remember as well, is that when they work on that beach, it has to be done, or preferably in the winter when the ground is firm, and to get in there with equipment to put the material down. So goal is to get that done this winter. And there's also a dynamic beach project that's going to take place on Yellow Bay as well. That one doesn't have quite the sensitive issues as the Summers Beach project does, so it's not as time sensitive. Other things coming up this week, there's both CAC meetings, the Citizens Advisory Committee meetings for FWP for Region 1 and Region 2 coming up this week. And Lord willing, I'll be able to attend those. And when I have some information for y'all, I usually forward you the manager's notes from those meetings, and I will send those your way because those are pretty good summary of happenings and projects and those things. So with that, unless there's any questions, that's all I got. But I would like to also say, Kathy, it's nice to see you again, and welcome
Thank
back.
you.
So we missed
Thank
you very much.
I have missed you guys too, obviously.
Okay,
Well, you look great.
Thanks.
report for District 2, that's me. We went to Lewis and Clark Caverns for the Lantern tour, and that happened just about the time we were doing the last meeting, and I'm not sure if I reported on that or not, but that is a very fun thing to do. It's just small groups. They go through about every 15, 20 minutes apart, and they just keep you moving through there. It's beautiful with the lanterns. It's a great thing to do. The weather was great this year. Last year, it was not, and they ended up canceling some. Speaking of weather being bad, the reenactment at Bannock State Park of the hanging of Sheriff Plummer and Ned Ray and his couple of his deputies, they canceled that. We were about 35 below that day, so they canceled that. But they did have the Bannock Association dinner and fundraiser at the college. It's a great great event. They always have a pot roast dinner. Most of the people on the board or on the Bannock Association are fairly old, so pot roast is a great dinner. So, but those were the only two things that I did, in my district during the winter months here. Liz, have you got anything for us?
Just a couple of quick things. As I'm sure you all saw in your emails, the Smith River permit system successfully went off without a hitch, and people have already been informed if they were successful or not. I think that was a pretty monumental change, and I think it was very successful. Over by Lewistown, the Hooked on Fishing, the ice fishing days, they caught enough perch over there to supply the state with fish for fish dissections for the school age children. And then the last other thing I thought was super interesting was, a couple weeks ago, they caught and collared about 40 bighorn sheep over kind of between here and Helena, and the Sebin, Sleeping Giant, Hardy Creek kind of areas. And they caught and collared them for two different kinds of studies that are being done, one by MSU and by U of M. And so it'll be neat to see what they find out. And that's what I got going in my area.
Okay, Kathy, you've been back on the board for just a while. Do you have anything for us from your area?
There's a lot going on in my area, but I haven't been out as much as you all have. I will say Makoshika Park is our Montana's largest state park, and it's always got some exceptional projects. We're in the process of cleaning the trails and so on, getting ready. The dark skies designation in that part of the country has been a real boon for eastern Montana, southeastern Montana, for tourism and so on. The regional meetings that's coming up in Miles City, I'm planning on attending that one, and I'll get more up on everything. I have attended two different meetings that they have talked about the grizzly bear relocation. And they used to be in eastern Montana. It's just something interesting to think of. Of course, I'm from a cattle ranching background, so that throws up red flags too, but it's good to discuss these things. Terry Badlands, some of those type of areas may be a fit, or down in the Ecolak area with that park down there. Might be a possible fit. I don't know, but it's always good to go into these things with eyes wide open and sit in on as many meetings as you can. Anyway, that's all I have to say, other than that I have been to the Bannock deal. That is phenomenal. And I'm sorry that they had it be so cold this year and didn't really work out as much, but it's really worth going to.
Okay, thank you. District 5, John, you got a report?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm glad to meet you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Yeah, even though we're not personal here. Yeah, and we attended Bannock Days this summer, and that was a blast. It was really fun. I was able to attend one of the Saturday tours at Pictograph Cave State Park, guided by the park ranger Liz Fry. She does a great job, with all the archaeological evidence there and the geological evidence as well. She gives a great tour. They were providing that every Saturday at 2:00. So got to meet Zoe, and then her manager Richard Took was there as well, and I got to meet him. Very interesting fellow. I'm always fascinated by Montana history, and that Took name. His relative, I don't know if it's his great grandfather, but Feek Took was a rancher in eastern Montana, and he's direct descendant of Feek, and he had a vision to breed draft horses with the wild Mustangs and make some rank broncs, which he did, and those broncs are part of the bloodline of the best broncs today, which was kind of interesting. When I heard his name, I perked up. So that was a great tour, and I encourage anyone in there that comes in the area to do that. Other than that, that's it.
Okay, thanks to the board members for the reports. Next is the director's report. Dustin, are you ready?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just very quickly, you heard Member Whiting talk about the successful Smith River permit drawing. As she mentioned, that was a considerable change. So there was a lot of work done by our Region 4 staff, our Parks and Outdoor Rec Program staff, and then folks that we never really talk about, which is our technology services staff. A ton of work and licensing to rewrite all those procedures and get that done well. We're rolling into construction season, believe it or not. So lots of planning and work to be done in the park system this season. And then the new license year is about to open on March 1st. So new license year, all the associated permit applications and drawings are the things we'll be working on. So I also would like to welcome Kathy back to the board and thank you for your service. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Our action item today is the Missouri Headwater State Park property acquisition. Presenter is Deb O'Neill, our Division Administrator for the Parks and Outdoor Rec Division. Deb, are you ready?
Sure. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. I'm actually not going to be presenting this. There's an error on the agenda. Bill Shank generally presents anything having to do with acquisitions. So with your permission, I will turn this over to Bill.
Okay, that sounds great. Bill, when you're ready, go ahead then.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. As Deb said, my name is Bill Schenk. I manage the land and water program for the department. On the land side, that means I have responsibility. My team and I have responsibility for we're on point on real estate acquisitions and related matters. Been working on this one for quite a long time, working closely with the Montana Fish and Wildlife Conservation Trust and the Montana State Parks Foundation. Before you is a proposal to accept a donation of land from the State Parks Foundation at Missouri Headwaters State Park. The land consists of 26.36 acres. It is bordered on two sides by the state park to the north and to the south, and sits just east of the main road that bisects the park. I think the value of this is, there's many values associated with this land. There's the potential for extension of the park trail system. There is a spring creek on the property that flows through it and onto the park that has been identified as a possibility for some restoration work there. There are historic buildings that were associated with an existing site. The old Gallatin Hotel is on park property. There's a historic barn and outbuilding on this property that would be evaluated for historical significance and added to that, the preservation of those buildings. I think, though, that it's pretty evident in looking at the location of this that a significant value is associated with simply securing the property and making sure that a major development doesn't happen there that could potentially harm park values. So just getting it into the park system, integrating it into park management, and making sure that it doesn't become something we wouldn't like to see within the park. Again, this is working very closely with the Parks Foundation. The Parks Foundation secured a grant from the Montana Fish and Wildlife Conservation Trust in the amount of $930,000. That was the original appraised price of the appraised value of the property. We since conducted a more recent appraisal. That value went up to $1,050,000, but the sellers were still willing to sell that property to the Parks Foundation using those grants funds for the original agreed upon $930,000. Again, it's a grant, substantial grant from the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Trust, and thank you to the Montana Outdoor Legacy Foundation who helps administer that trust, and we worked closely with them as well. The department will incur about roughly $33,000 of expense to reimburse the Parks Foundation for their out-of-pocket costs, including hazardous material survey, appraisal, related diligence, and closing costs, title insurance, etc. Obviously, it's a highly leveraged investment. Title is clean. I think this will require land board approval subsequent to, if the Parks Board approves today, the next step will be take it to the land board. That's all I have, although I'm very willing to answer any questions that you might have today.
Okay, thank you, Bill. That was great. We'll have a discussion with the board members. I've got one item, the acquisition and transfer interest in Montana, the policy that we adopted in 12/20 of 22 that expires at the end of this year. It has some guidelines, some stipulations. The significance, the relevance, and the accessibility. I think Bill spoke of that, and if you look through your EA, you can see how that all fits. On that page, it says the plan will be developed by the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks for the proposed acquisition, defining the necessary improvements and anticipated in costs and how they would be funded. The next thing is operation and staffing costs. Land management involves annual maintenance costs, and it lists several. And then it talks about shall be required, considerable, and considered be and prior before advancing to the acquisition of the property. So it looks to me that, Bill, you guys must have a pretty good plan and some estimates on cost and what you're going to do with that property to bring it into the state park.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start with one. I'll start with what I know, and then I'll probably look for support from staff from the division itself. But my understanding is there is a house on that. We have not estimated, and the idea is it's in rough shape. Whereas we would keep historic buildings, we do want to remove the house. The intention was not to purchase or to obtain an administrative site. I don't have an estimate for what it would cost to move that house. However, if there is value there and we can sell it as surplus property and it could be moved off there, we could actually, there's at least the potential to recoup some funding there. I have discussed future management with our parks staff from the region. I know the initial plan is to simply go in and remove interior fencing and assess the condition of what would be the new boundary fence. I think that would be handled entirely by our existing crew and would be rather little expense. I don't have dollar figures, but I know that there may be a little bit of cleanup on the property. However, the cleanup of anything that could be hazardous in the sense, and to be specific, there were some barrels identified in the hazardous materials survey. They've been removed. Whatever is there is going to be basically junk cleanup if there's anything left. As for other expenses, I think my understanding is whereas there's a desire to incorporate it potentially into the trail system, that hasn't really been specified exactly how that would happen. If Deb or staff have any additional information on that, I would defer to them at this time.
Mr. Chair, sure. Thank you for that question. I think Bill covered it pretty well. We are going to be either getting rid of the house and, like you said, selling it or raising it. I'm not sure if anybody from Region 3 is on. I was hoping that Linnea Schroer was on. She's the regional rec manager. But I don't know if anybody from Region 3 is there to give you any additional details to that, Chair Kip.
Okay. Any other board members? Got some discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have the same concern that you do with the cleanup and the costs. Is that something that stops us here, or can we move forward if there's no estimate on the cost of cleaning that up? Because I know if you look on Google Earth, there are vehicles and equipment all over the property, and I'm sure there's dangerous things there for the public. So I don't know what there's a discussion on that.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Director.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So the cleanup, just to back up here just for a minute, I guess, is, this donation, the concept of this donation came to us. The vision for this is additional open space for the park. We want to preserve the historic structures that are there and get rid of everything else. So certainly there will be some cleanup costs. Those will be handled within existing agency budgets. So we won't be making an ask to the legislature or anything else to take care of this. As Mr. Shank mentioned, our hope is that we can get the house moved off there at least at no cost to the department. If we picked up a little value there, so much the better. But other than that, you're really talking about making sure there's an intact boundary fence, make sure that any weeds that exist are mitigated as required. And so we're not talking about a ton of expenditure, really, no matter what we find. Mr. Shank's already mentioned the hazardous materials survey. Those barrels we were concerned about have been removed. So I don't think there's a significant concern here in terms of obligation to the state as we accept this donation and what it might cost. We are confident we can handle that with existing resources, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may offer one additional comment.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Member Barancik. I believe the imagery that you've looked at on Google kind of overstates the amount of debris that's on the place now. There were a couple of farm implements. Prior to the sale to the foundation, the family worked with some friends who had stored equipment on their place for some time, and so I think some of what you are seeing is already gone.
Very good.
And Mr. Chair, Region 3, Linnea Schroer, the Regional Recreation Manager, is on, and she could also answer some of the questions that you have.
Okay. Any other board members?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Jody, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the discussion so far answered a lot of questions I had. I was wondering how much, debris was on there, or like John said, any equipment or vehicles, or even how the house would be handled. So, I mean, that's good news where it sounds like maybe minimal expense. The house has some value. That, of course, was some concerns, the cost of getting it ready. I'm kind of curious, since we have someone from Region 3 on there, to join the discussion, is that how, let's see, I don't necessarily a timeline, but what condition would this property need to be in before it's open to the public? What kind of goals does the region have? Like, would it just be open as soon as it's safe? Are we going to allow people in when there's actually kind of some more trails there, or trails that are used now? How far along do we have to get before it's open to the public, I guess, is my question.
Region 3 is muted. Still muted. Still can't hear you. I will, while we're trying to, oh, there you guys are. Try it now.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes. And now.
Hi. Great. Hello, Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for having us. My name is Linnea Schroer. I'm the Region 3 Recreation Manager. And just to back up for a minute, I just want to confirm what a couple other people have said. The hazardous materials have been removed. That was part of the agreement to do that prior to the sale. And also, a lot has been removed. So the imagery that you're seeing is a little outdated. What remains are half of a Econoline van, a couple of old boats, a couple of old trailers, several piles of tires, but the vast majority of materials have been removed. And I'm just talking about the area sort of behind the house and outbuildings. And we've talked within the region about having a work party there this spring. where we would actually deal with as much as we could at that point and assess what else still needed to be done beyond what we could do in-house. But I think we'll be able to handle the vast majority of it just within the region and our budgets. In terms of what would be needed to be done before it was open to the public, we definitely would want to remove the debris in that backfield that we're talking about and take out interior fencing and assess that boundary fencing. We want to stay good neighbors with our existing neighbors and make sure that visitors are not trespassing onto our neighboring private properties. And I'm guessing we could be in that place by the fall.
Thank you. Any other discussion from board members? Okay, hearing none, entertain a motion from one of the board members.
I would make a motion to move to approve the donation of 26.36 acres to enhance the Missouri Headquarters State Park.
I second that.
Okay, so we've got a motion from Kathy and then a second from Liz. Do we have anybody, public comments, queued up today?
Mr. Chairman, there are several who would like to. I would remind everyone attending to please use your system and raise your hand so that I can get to you effectively. Mr. Chairman, would you like to go with the standard 2 minutes per person, sir?
Yes, there was an overwhelming amount of public comment that was sent out to the board. You all had a chance to review that, so we've got that to pay attention to as well. Okay, Eric, go ahead, please.
Very good, Mr. Chairman. The first one I have is Mike Talia or Talia.
That's Talia. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members. I'm Mike Talia. I'm a board member with the Montana's Outdoor Legacy Foundation. We wanted to thank all the partners involved in this project, and I just wanted to make myself available to anybody on the board, particularly if you have any questions about the Canyon Ferry Trust, which we are the trustee of, and how it works. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Mike. Next one, Eric.
Mr. Chairman, I have Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Bicking. I'm the Executive Director of the Montana State Parks Foundation. I just want to say hello to you, honorable members of the Parks and Recreation Board, and thank you very much for your consideration of our donation. With this donation, we mark a significant opportunity to protect a notable historical site, Gallatin City 2, enhance fish and recreation habitats, and broaden recreational prospects in Gallatin County. As a resident of Gallatin County since 2008, I have observed substantial growth in both population and tourism in my town. At the same time, I've witnessed the community and the state's unwavering commitment to the conservation of our most valued natural resources with the aim of safeguarding Montana for future generations. With this donation, we've garnered a lot of extensive support from local organizations like the Gallatin Conservation District, the Three Forks Area Historical Society, the Gallatin Valley Land Trust, and local businesses like the Sacagawea and Three Forks and Sims and Bozeman have also championed this initiative. Acknowledging the significance of enriching one of Southwest Montana's most precious treasures, the Missouri Headwaters State Park. I really want to thank you for your consideration and for motioning to approve this donation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next I believe we have, is it Angie Grove?
Angie.
Yes, it is Angie Grove. Thank you. My name is Angie Grove. I'm chairman of the Montana State Parks Foundation. We are the organization that has purchased this property And we are really excited to have it here for you today. We hope we can count on your support to make this an addition to the Headwaters State Park. I think the department has done a great job of emphasizing the points and processes in this, but there's a couple of factors that I'd like to just emphasize a little further. First of all, the family. The family very much wishes this to be part of the state parks. I think, as a couple of the board members pointed out, there was a lot of cleanup to do on this property, and they have worked a lot in the last 2 months to clean up the property, as the region staff noted. They were extremely patient through this process because there were a few unexpected twists. And then last but not least, they were willing to accept the original appraisal price, which made it realistic for us to make this purchase. The other key partner in this was the Montana Fish and Wildlife Conservation Trust. That was the Canyon Ferry Trust that Mike alluded to earlier. They gave us 100% of the funding to purchase this property, and there is no way we could have done it without them. So I think it's important to acknowledge their contribution here. The other key player in this was the Region 3 staff. The application process for the grant funding was a pretty technical, involved process. And without the support of Linnea Schroer and her staff, we couldn't have had that application as comprehensive as it was. So I think it's important to thank Region 3 staff because they've been a very important support for us as well. And then, of course, the land staff with Bill Shank. There was some title and different factors that affected a lot of this process, and we couldn't have got it through without the support of the advice from Bill and his staff. So I'd like to thank them as well. But I really hope that we can get this across the finish line. It was very much the wish of the family to make this part of the state park, and I think it's a great addition. So I hope we can count on your support to make that happen. I would be happy to answer any questions. I've been involved in this process since June, and it's been a long one. But I do hope we can make it move forward today. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have no further commenters at this time.
Okay.
Chairman Kip?
Yes, go ahead, Jody.
Chairman, if I could at this time, I'd just like to make a couple comments as well. Before we vote, I would like to urge the board to support this. I plan on supporting this. I think it is in alignment with our Parks and Recreation Board policy on acquisition and transfer of lands that you referred to earlier. I don't see an issue there. And something else that I thought that really caught my attention was a map of this property, where it's located in this state park. The shape of it really reminded me of a situation that we're dealing with on the Forest Service here in the Helena National Forest, a similar situation. And if you look at these, at some of the documents here that we looked at in the background on this, a lot of the concern and the fear is what would happen if this particular parcel was to go out on the open market. And what I'm referring to is what has happened in my neck of the woods. Is it was actually a mining claim that is similarly shaped. It's very thin, very long, and right in the middle of Recreation Central. And this parcel was purchased by an individual from Florida, and this action caught us by surprise, and it shut off access to a trailhead to the north and a trailhead to the south that were directly adjacent to each other. It's affected individuals' favorite camping spot along this drainage that we've lost. It's affected almost every recreation in the area. And thankfully, with help from FWP and the grant program, working with the Forest Service, those two trailheads are going to be rerouted. So access will be restored, but which will be nice. We're nearly complete with that. But that area will never be the same. This landowner has built this multi-million-dollar log cabin right on the road. He's digging up rocks out of the riverbank and built himself a rock fence around his place. He refuses to work with the recreating public. He's closed off accesses that are, you only need 50 feet to get to public land behind his land, and he refuses to work with us. So my point is that the fear or the concern of what could happen if this property went to market is real. So I just on that alone just really brought to my attention, and I would ask the members to support this acquisition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jody. Any other comments? If
Yeah,
not,
Mr. Chairman.
go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'd just like to express my appreciation to all the foundation and everyone that's worked to put this together. Really did a great job, and it sounds like a lot of work. So I really appreciate what you've done. And I agree, we need to get this into the park. So just thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more comments, then we'll call for a vote. And what I'll do is we'll go by district to approve the motion that Kathy made. Jody, you're first, District 1.
I vote aye, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Russ, District 2, I vote aye. District 3, Liz.
Aye.
Aye. District 4, Kathy. You're muted, Kathy, please.
Oh, I don't like being muted. I'm just joking. I definitely vote aye.
Okay, Kathy is an aye. And John, District 5?
Aye.
Aye. So the motion passes 5-0. Perfect. I would like to ask Lene, when they do have that cleanup out there, the spring cleanup, please invite the board. We'd like to come and help. You're muted.
Just say yes, free help.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our action item. Do we have any public comments on items that aren't on our agenda? Eric, do you have anyone?
I have no hands raised at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so I think that takes care of all of our business. Would someone like to motion to adjourn this meeting?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, John, motion to adjourn. A second?
I second that.
Okay, and everybody say aye.
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 Okay, thank you, guys. This is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.